This is Daf Yomi Yerushalmi Kilayim in the article Old Vahadir edition. We are on Daf Mem Beis Hamrav at the second Mishnah, Allah Chavav. And that is in the Vilna edition, Achav Beis Amud Beis, also Allah Chavav. Anoteya Shtei Shuros. If somebody plants 2 rows of vines, it may be named Shmon Amos, there aren't 8 Amos between the 2 rows. Lower V Bez Yerushalmi may not plant any foreign seeds there. Hayu Shalosh, if there are 3 rows. So then in Amen Shulu Chaver the Sheshes Riyama, Loya V Yerushalmi. The more rows, the greater the gap must be. So there aren't 16 Amos between each of the rows. You should not plant any seeds in the middle. Belezer ben Yaakov, Omer B'Shum Chanina ben Chachinoi, Afilu Charvayim Tzais, even if the middle of these 3 rows has been eradicated, been destroyed. V'Emetshul Chaverta Sheshes Ama, if you don't have between the 2 shuros, which are now only 2, which only require 8. But now since there's already been 3 and required 16, if aren't between the 2 remaining rows 16 amos, maybe as Elisham, you can't plant seeds there. Of course, even though if you plant that way, the Chatil is only 2 rows, so you only need 8 amos. Since they originally been planted in 3 rows, it retains the requirement of 16 amos. Somebody plants his karam 16 amos squares, 16 amos, so 16 amos. So then, mutter lahavi zelasham. You put a zera in the middle. It's possible to put amongst them a zera. Rabbi said, he planted 16 amos and 16 amos. And then he would turn the foliage of both of these of all of his vines to one side, to Zoraz and near, and he would plant that which is plant that which he plowed that year. It was shown next year. If it was the Malcolm Mazera, he would turn it into the place where the previous year planted Zoraz a bore and plant the place that left fallow. The said this is fine. They both said that even if you planted your karam with a gap of 8 amos, even more than 2 rows, so then that's sufficient in order to bring a zera in between. As long as you make archaka, obviously the necessary 6 tefachim on each side, you can plant the rest of the 8 amos in the middle. Says Gemara, Amar Rabbi Zira, Shmona chutz mimokom akartin. The 8 amos which you need in order to undermine its status of karam is besides the place of the trunks. In other words, the trunks have to be outside of those. What the Tamar Shmona chutz mimokom kartin, Kavasa Arba chutz mimokom kartin. The 4 which you have to on the sides of the karam, right? Not between the rows, but on the sides of the karam, where you have to mark 4 amos. Is that also besides? It's also besides the makom kartin, out beyond the trunks. Again, but they were shmara chutzi makom kartin. So arba chutzi makom kartin. Amar Belezer, no, not true. Ichmir tocho, yosim chutzolo. They're more machmir inside between the 2 rows than outside for the rows, and then that's the case. The makom kartin is mitzvah to the 4 amos. Archaka, which require around the karam. Amar Rabbi said, I don't have time on. Well, I was still chutzlaretz. Kiamti, I learned it. I sustained this discussion. Here it says Tocho Shmona Chutzlo Sheshes way. So here the Gran or Chaim say Tocho Shiva to Tocho Tezain. In the karam you need 16. Chutzalo arba. Outside the karam you need 4. So that which the beginning of the parak we had karachas the karam, which takes 16 amos. That means within the karam you need 16 amos, and then you mark 4 amos, and then plant the rest of those 16 amos. Outside, when you're dealing with planting beyond the perimeter of the kerem, so it's 4 amos. Right? Amar Eliezer said, "May arba amos v'shmona osur mekadesh." So between each shura, there's between 4 and 8 amos. You're not allowed to plant anything there, and if you did plant there, both the zorim and the kfarim come osur. That the he says that is the Reb Chaim adds, okay, it's between 4 and 8, but what about less than 4? Yeah, so he says it's less than 4. Then it stands like an individual, even though you have enough vines to make a carrot, but it's less than 4, then you only need to be marking 6 tvachim. Why? Because the ones which are there are all made to be uprooted because they're too close together. So they don't constitute a karam, even though it's a very dense planting, and therefore only to be marking 6 from each geffen, as if it's a geffen yechidi, as if it's an individual grapevine. Okay, so again, arba shmona amos shmona osur mekadesh. It's also, and it becomes claim shmona about sheishasrei between 8 and 16. So then also it's still osur because internally within the kerem you need gaps of 16 amos. We said in the Mishnah the first time at least osur ve'en mekadesh, but doesn't, if you did plant that way, it doesn't make a kilei kerem. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Asid Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov k'bei Shammai." Since the husband Yaakov was going like Beis Shammai. Come on, the Beis Shammai Shura achas kerem. Just like Beis Shammai says, 1 row is a kerem. So too, it would seem that according to Keren Eliezer ben Yaakov, Omer Shura achas kerem, meaning that even if let's start with 3 rows, but now you only have 2 rows left, right? So each one of them is like a carrot, right? And you need to have, in the middle of the plant between 2 of them 16 amos. So okay, fine. So that means that they have a status of kerem, even though they're individual rows. According to Beis Shammai, Beis couldn't say that you need 16 amos in the middle as a shear of krach's kerem, because he said the paragraph Shmuel said that that's only when they come from Mata Kerem Gadol. That after there is a chorv in the middle, there's still a sheet of kerem on each side. But here it sounds like according to Eliezer ben Yaakov, even though you have only 1 row on each side, so therefore you have to be marking 16 amos in the middle. So it sounds like that they hold like Beis Shammai, that 1 row can constitute a kerem, and that's why you need the extra special amount of 16 amos in the middle. Right? Kamad Rabbi Shukran, Kamad Rabbi Shammai, Amru Shurachas Kerem. There's the Yaakov Mer Shurachas Kerem. Manavshach. What it says, wait. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says in the Mishnah, you need Tezayin, and you have 3 rows and you uprooted 1 in the middle. But if you're not done mitzvah, so it's Lakach, if you only have 2 rows to begin with, you only need 8 amos, right? So it says whether there were 3 rows or 2 rows. Shasu is 8. Because since you say that a row is the kerem, even you plant even like Yaakov, a row is the kerem, like Beis Shammai, like Beis, you need to Shnayim Kineg Shnayim Bechad Yotzi Sarah. So even you planted 2 rows, you should be marking for each row 4 amos before avodas kerem, and when there are only 8 amos between the 2 rows, then until you have no place to plant because you have 4 amos on this side, 4 amos on that side. So then you have no place to plant. So if you didn't like Beis Shammai, so you can explain that if you have 8 amos, they don't become a kerem, and therefore like individual vines, and you're marking each one 6 tvachim. But if you're going to say that they you're going to say Eliezer ben Yaakov holds like Beis Shammai, so then how would there be 8 amos be enough? 8 amos is not going to be enough because you're saying each side is a carrot. So you need 16 in the middle. So that's when it says, Manashach. Kerem Gadol Asa B'Shmona, Kerem B'Shmona, Kerem Katan Asa B'Shmona. The not sure why there with the right inflection. Um, Maybe I am. Second. Okay, so not necessarily. The way I've written down in my Gemara is really like this: Masha Keren Gadol Asa B'Shmona. If it's a Keren Gadol, they need a Chaka of 8. And if it's Keren Katan Asa B'Shmona, if the no, I'm not sure what I wrote here. I don't like what I wrote there. Give me a second here. It actually is what the Pnei Moshe says. He says, "Manav shach asuki milsi klomar." It was going to say, "V'had kamar she'ilu mitchin natan yamuta b'shmona amos." As if you began with, if you planned it to begin with those 2 rows, 8 amos enough. La b'ches amos ben ashuas ben akol. It's not 8 amos altogether. That's all you need. Kamar. Ches amos lezu, ches amos lezu. I mean, 8 amos for each one. 16 altogether. According to Yerushalmi Kilayim, so then 8 lav dafka. 8 would mean you have to have 16. 8 on each side. 4 for al chaka, and then the 4 where you can plant. 4 for al chaka, and the 4 which you can plant. As he says, lab b'shmona amos shus ben akolka mar b'shmona amos zu shmona amos zu. B'asher b'chorva mem tzoyis nami b'ina tezayin. You also need 16. The marashach. Way you look at it. Keren Gadol Asa B'Shmona. If it's a large Keren, it's B'Shmona. Klomar, just Shalosh Rows. If there are 3 rows, there Keren Gadol is a big Keren. Asa B'Shmona Amos Levad Ben Ashuros. 8 Amos is no good. Sheshes Amos Ben Ashuros. You have 16. Ches Amos Zu. The Shur Achas Habe Keren. B'Kol Keren Tzorach Shmona Amos Shein Avodas Keren L'Beis Shammai. Okay, so therefore, according to Yerushalmi Yaakov, 8 amos is never going to be, if you hold like Beishamai, 8 amos is never going to be sufficient. You're going to have 8 amos on one side, but 16 amos altogether. Okay, because if it's only like Beishamai, the one shur is already a Keren. Rabbi Yehuda Lomar Kain, Rabbi Yehuda does not hold it way. Rabbi Yehuda says, Shmona amos also. You only have 8 amos between the 2 rows, it's also. Shmona amos for kosher mutter. If it's 8 amos in the kosher, it's already mutter. He's saying that, yeah, we don't get more. We're going in, you won't get 4 amos al then plant 8 amos, then get 4 amos al. You have 8 amos altogether, you get, you do. You get 10 amos on one side, 10 amos on the other side, and then you can plant whatever over 8 amos is in the middle. You don't need 16, you just need 8. Okay. Isbay Mema Shil Mitchil Noto Mishmata Sheshes Meyama Sheshes Muta B'Shmona Amos. Some people say that the way to learn in our Mishnah that if you initially planted 2 rows and between them there's 16 amos, a little less than 16 amos, then you could bring another zera there at in the whatever's over 8 amos. In other words, you mark down amos on one side, down on the other side, and in the middle, you get to plant 8 amos. But if there was no tesayin amo, then you couldn't plant it all. Once it's tesayin amo, you can do 4, 4, and 8 in the middle. If there's tesayin amo, you can't do anything. Okay, and then. But that's only in mitchila. Once it's charev, then you need 8 amos on each side. So it's way man makes shun the Thomas say with the Shemon Amos in the middle in the it would be mutter in the middle 8 amos. When it's Chorev, and it was originally had 3 rows, so then you can't have so again if you had 2 rows initially, and you still need 16 in the middle, you can plant 8 of those 16. But if you had 3 rows originally, and then one, even though one got a brood in the middle, you still need to have 8 amos on each side, and plant a strip between those between that 8 amos here and 8 amos there, and you need a chok of 8 amos, not just a chok of 4 amos, you need a chok of 8 amos, and then you're going to plant once you start with that at that point. Okay, this has brought us well onto Mem Gimel Amud Beis, so I think we're going to maybe start from the top of Mem Gimel Amud Beis tomorrow, because I don't want to go to 2 dots, which is halfway down. So okay, we'll see. In any event, certainly got on to Mem Gimel for today.